Well, when we decided to form a group, we wanted to be like all the other groups. We wanted the horns and the keyboards and all that, but we didn't know anyone, so we had to do the best we could with what we had to work with. And I guess the simplicity of that is one of the reasons that we caught on. And
The Ventures were the first group that I remember using electric guitars in an instrumental format.
Along with, say, the Shadows from England, I would say the Ventures are arguably the instrumental rock and roll band of all time.
The Ventures were the only band of their kind, really, and they were the only band of their kind with the magnitude of, you know, they could stand up to, say, the Beatles at that period. I mean, they're a classic, and will always remain that way.
Now, I can remember in the early days of Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, when we'd do a sound check, well, we'd be rolling through our songs. Every once in a while, the music would stop. And suddenly, I'd pick up this beat. Bop, 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 bop. Wipeout. And don't you know, everybody in our band would go right into it.
basically, Wipeout isn't a whole lot more complex than Twinkle Twinkle Little Star or Mary Had a Little Lamb, but it's a whole lot more fun to play, and I think the Ventures were probably in that way responsible for a lot more players sticking with guitar through the difficult early stages.
Well, I guess Don Wilson and I met in 1959, the early part of '59, and we both played a little guitar, and we started learning how to play together and bought a couple of electric guitars.
When we got the opportunity to start playing small clubs, and we'd play anywhere. We'd play for somebody that had a party or wedding reception or anything, and we were just a two-man combo. And we had no bass and no drum, so we kind of had to make up for that. And I played pretty percussion-y rhythm, and Bob played a real full chord lead. And that's the way, actually, we started our sound.
I joined the Ventures fan club when I was 10 years old. And I wrote him a letter and I said, I want to be a lead guitar player. What kind of guitar should I buy? And they told me I should go buy a Fender Jazzmaster. So I ran out to my local music store, paid a fortune for an imported Fender. This was in Mexico. I must have paid, gosh, $400, which is, you know, all the money I can make in the world. And I still have the guitar.
When we got ready to record Walk Don't Run, we started looking for musicians to help us with it.
I was working in a nightclub with Buck Owens, and the Ventures came in, saw me playing.
We were really impressed with his musicianship and his abilities. And so we asked him to join us.
In 1960, we released Walk Don't Run, and it became an instant hit. One day, on the construction site, they were playing Walk Don't Run on the radio. And I turned to this guy next to me and I said, "That's me and Bob playing there." And he looked at me and he said, "Can't be." what are you doing still working on this construction job? But actually, we couldn't afford to quit yet.
My music has sort of evolved, I suppose, through starting off listening to the Ventures and going back to listen to them, and jazz and R&B and Motown and, you know, everything, blues. And the thing that I try to maintain is like a sense of melody all the time, and I think that's basically what the Ventures are. If it's got a good melody, I mean, it's worth a crack at it, sort of thing.
When we moved to Hollywood, our drummer didn't want to relocate, so we started looking for a new drummer.
The Palomino, 1961 is when I first met the guys. They came in these gold lame jackets. They just got come in from doing a TV show, and they were asked to get up and play. They said they couldn't do it because their drummer wasn't with them. I said, well, I know your hits. I know them. There's only one. It's Walk, Don't Run. I can play behind you. So we got up and we did it, and they asked me if I'd join them.
When I was 14 years old, I already played the electric guitar. My brother played the drums, and we wanted to be a rock and roll band. We needed a bass player. My neighbor came to me and said, I would love to buy a brand new electric bass if you'll show me how to play it. He stuck to his word. He got the electric bass. I had to show him how to play it. I went to my Ventures album collection. I pulled out my favorite Ventures album and chose a song called The McCoy. I showed him this song. We played it for the first time, and it was the first time we ever heard ourselves as a three-piece rock and roll band. We were so excited, we realized that if we called ourselves the McCoys, we had a built-in theme song. It was the only song we knew, but that was our theme song. Well, one thing led to another. Next thing you know, the McCoys recorded Hang On Sloopy, and it became #1 in every country of the world that sells records. I guess I owe a big thanks, because of the McCoy, to the Ventures.
touch with me. She did not leave a number, but I know the place to call. My uncle took the message and he wrote it on the wall. Go for it now. She lives up on the south side, high up on the ridge, just a half a mile from the Mississippi Bridge.
Off and on for 20 years, Jerry McGee has been an integral part of the Ventures' music. Some people call him the fifth venture.
1967, 68, I was really doing a lot of studio work in Hollywood for like Elvis and the Monkees, Everly Brothers, John Mayall, Lenny and Bonnie. And I got a call one day from Mel Taylor asking me if I'd be interested in auditioning for the Ventures. And I said, oh God, the Ventures, are you kidding me? So I went down to the audition, got my guitar, played a couple of songs, got accepted. They said, you got the job, and I just couldn't believe it.
You can name any number of instrumentalists or musicians that have got good taste and they've got good, they play well and they've got good choice of material, but they don't necessarily last or capture the public's imagination the way the Ventures have done. So it's got to be some unknown quantity, like, you know, the magic charisma that's kept them on top for so long.
the Ventures sound came together, it wasn't a planned thing. It was everybody's individual talent that came together and made the sound.
The rhythm sound, meaning the rhythm, bass, and drums, in my opinion, with the lead guitar on top of it, goes to make the Venture sound.
A lot of the Venture songs are basically 3-chord A sections with a middle 8, especially the surf-type instrumentals. And when you think about it, that's really excellent training for what I do today. It was you know, an excellent starting ground to learn about the fundamentals of pop music and song construction. And I still use a lot of those twangy parts anyway.
The Ventures, to me, very lively, very youthful sounding at the time. And it reminded me of the Beach Boys without the vocals. And along with Jan and Dean and the Beach Boys, there were the Ventures.
There's not many groups, instrumental groups, who can last for any amount of time, especially in rock and roll. There's only been a few. And I don't know, they must have their own particular sound or their own particular style that just fills a niche somewhere.
Shortly after we started recording albums, we stumbled onto a format that we stuck with for years because it really worked for us. And that was, being an instrumental group, we found we were in a very unique situation. We would take current vocal hits and record them instrumentally. And we'd record about 6 of those on an album, and then we'd write 6 tunes for the other half. And we would pick songs that were coming up on the charts, and by the time we'd get the album out, those songs would usually be in the top 10, so it gave us a lot of title strength.
They were also the ultimate cover band. It was our first exposure to hits like Apache, which was, you know, a cover, and Pipeline was the Shantays, and Wipeout was the Safaris, and Walk Don't Run was Johnny Smith, you know, but we all knew them as Ventures songs, much the same way as young blues players learned Muddy Water songs from Rolling Stones records.
We've had 17 charted singles in our career. We're basically known as an album seller. We've had, up to now, about 85 albums released in the United States, 170 worldwide, and we've sold in excess of 80 million units.
The present popularity of the Ventures, you know, at the whole new wave scene is the fact that the music is, it's got the same elements, I think, of new wave. You know, it's the simplicity of it, yet the melody and the beat and the whole shtick. Just a natural, reoccurring theme, I guess.
Children, they should do what I done. I have spent my life in sin and misery in the house of the rising sun. There is a house in New Orleans that they call
about the mid-60s, around 65, we had 5 albums on the top 100 chart at the same time. And a lot of the songs we were writing started becoming single hits in Japan.
It put us in the top 10 writers, composers in Japan, and we did it again in 1971, which put us in the all-time top 10 composers of Japan, and the very first foreigners ever in that category.
We created so much excitement in Japan with the electric guitar boom that they tried to stop it. The Parents and Teachers Association, just like they have here in the United States, got together and said, no, guitars are no good for the kids.
think the attractiveness about the Ventures, whether it be them 25 years back or currently, is that I mean, the style that they sort of created in their own right is was pure and simple and exciting, and you know, it was a good time.
After playing in foreign countries all through the 70s, we were contacted by a Los Angeles disc jockey in, I believe it was 1981. And he told us he'd been playing a lot of our records on the radio, and kids were calling in wanting to know more about this new punk group called The Ventures.
And right after that, I got a call from a club here in town called the Starwood, and they asked us if we'd like to do a show there.
We didn't know what to expect. And we were in the dressing room. We came and got on stage, and before we ever got close to the stage, there was an ovation that just wouldn't quit. And the place was packed to the rafters. And we knew we were in again.
Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go!
Our club consists of original Ventures fans from the 60s, now approaching middle age. In addition to them, we have a new generation of young kids just discovering their music. As a matter of fact, I received a letter the other day from a young fan who was turned on to their music by his father's records.
I could see why a lot of kids today like the Ventures like they did 20, 25 years ago, is because it's just straight ahead rock and roll. There's no frills, it's enjoyable to listen to, and there's not 10-minute guitar solos and 15-minute drum solos, and it gets right to the point, and that's what rock and roll is all about, and that's what the Ventures are.
Even after the success of Alabama, one of the highlights of my career was to be able to introduce the Ventures at a local nightclub in Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm proud to call them personal friends.
I've got to be the Ventures' biggest fan ever, and to size it up, really, the Ventures music is fun. It is the most fun.
Secret
Ventures were a big part of my life because, well, you'd be playing these dances, CYO dances, high school dances, wherever you could play. Now, we were young kids. And after about 20 minutes or 30 minutes of singing, your voice would go out. So what could you do? Well, what we did was we resorted to playing Ventures songs because it was great. They had no words. You didn't have to sing. You could just play all night.
Here I was, you know, in 4th grade, I was a shy little kid. And, I played with a couple of friends of mine at one of these school variety shows. And I'll never forget the reaction we got when we played Pipeline and Apache and Perfidia. Girls coming up to us after, you know, I could see the excitement in their eyes. And I knew then that I was going to continue playing electric guitar for a long time, you know. So I got to thank the Ventures for that. Basically, the Venture songs are very hip tunes to play. They were very cool. The physical sensation was definitely a part of that.
The Ventures are the ultimate minimalist band. They just play the parts, play them real straight, and play them real cool.
I guess as long as people love rock and roll, we keep trying to play it for them.
But we knew we was onto something magic.